Yeah.
Hey yo, man, it's your time. Man, fuck poverty. Get this money, man. The fuck you gotta do, you know what I'm saying?
I can tell you're mad at me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Phil and Leroy the Judgmental Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This your boy Phil.
And I'm Leroy. Alright, so we going to Cincinnati, Ohio. Philip, is this self-defense? Akira Fletcher is accused of shooting two women, which resulted in the death of one of them. Now, here's the report. They're going to break down everything that happened. Yeah, obviously, you already know this is some hood shit.
Of course.
Well, Kyle Paula, Jake Clark has a lot of
All right, young lady.
What's
up, they go? All right, Marlo.
Like and again, we want to warn you, the video in this story is disturbing. It shows the confrontation between Fletcher, Norton, and another woman.
Get your ass out of Ohio.
In the video, Norton is seen holding a knife and a rock. In her Facebook post, Fletcher says she was being, quote, attacked. She claims her tires were slashed, windows smashed, and a rock was being thrown at her. Now, after watching my report and playing Fletcher's video several times, Clark believes Fletcher does have a solid self-defense case.
Hit me again. Hit me again.
One of these shots allegedly killed Naima Norton, and the woman charged in her murder is the person recording.
You should be happy. You should be happy you don't get clapped. You should be happy you don't get clapped. You should be happy you don't get clapped.
The confrontation played out on Akira Fletcher's phone, posted as two clips on Facebook. Jay Clark believes this one alone is enough to prove Fletcher acted in self-defense.
Basically, it's a new sequence of events at that point because they had disengaged. She had walked off. She tried to drive off. Well, now she's approaching.
It shows Fletcher's driver's side window smashed as Norton approaches her vehicle, appearing to reach for something before Fletcher allegedly fires the fatal shots.
Yeah.
Right there, you can see the arm start to come up as she turns to swing it.
Clark says the prosecution will have to prove Fletcher's use of deadly force was not in self-defense. All it takes is proving beyond a reasonable doubt at least one of five things. Fletcher created the situation. She did not have reasonable grounds to believe she was in danger of death or great bodily harm, that she did not have an honest belief of being in danger of death or great bodily harm, that she violated a duty to retreat to avoid the...
I disagree with B. Because that rock, one of that rock bopped upside her head and something happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I disagree with that one. It's just all a bunch of mess anyway. And where was they at?
Yeah, I like to know. I like to know what started the whole thing from the jump.
Probably over some man or something. They all intertwine with each other. Because to me, that's what it sounds like. It's probably something over somebody messing around with somebody dude or whatever.
All right, so was it a meetup to handle beef, or did they just happen to run into each other?
I don't know, but it was all those businesses there. If she felt her life was in danger or they was going to roll on her or something like that, she could just went to the store and told them to call the police. These girls are after me or something like that.
Yeah, well, what if it's a stand your ground state and she's strapped with a license to carry? Then you ain't got to be running nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So...
Yeah, well, I disagree with B because she had that rock in her hand.
Right. On a surface level, I'm going to say it looks like self-defense. She throwing shit at her car. She got a rock and a knife. So look.
Or that she used unreasonable force. Based on those elements, Clark says Fletcher has a solid case. He does not believe Fletcher was the aggressor.
Now, you can say she got out and was running her mouth, but words alone are not enough.
He thinks Norton escalated the situation when she returned to Fletcher's car.
And did she use a reasonable force? At best, the state could argue, well, she had a brick, you didn't have to shoot her. Any cop will tell you a blunt object is just as dangerous as a gun.
He says because Fletcher's tires were flat, she likely couldn't drive away. But
leave.
under Ohio's standard ground law, she didn't have to.
She was in her car. She had a right to. She had no obligation to retreat.
Now, according to court documents, in May, Norton was accused of pointing a gun at Fletcher and threatening to shoot her. Both women were due in court for that case today. Clark says that history might help Fletcher's case.
Hey there. So the girl already threatened to shoot Fletcher. Pointed a gun at her. I'm sorry, not threatened her. Pointed a gun at her. And I guess Fletcher doubled down on that and said, okay, you pulled a gun on me. I'm going to pull my gun out on you, but I'm going to use mine.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a bunch of bullshit, and I want to know what's the
Ongoing
full
beef,
story
and that was the
Yeah.
last fucking draw right here.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, so we going to Summit County. April Woods, a Summit County deputy fired for having sex with an inmate, is fired
Well,
again.
there's a whole bunch of that going on.
Is fired again from University Hospital's Adra's Medical Center. So she was hired as a deputy, but she was fired because she was messing around with the inmate. But she got a job doing on a security or police. Would you call that police if you a hospital? That's police, right?
I would say, well, they do have a hospital police, but I would call her security.
So she got hired there, and when all this stuff came out, they fired her. And let us know that this is the news is doing the investigation, not the police or anything like that. So all this stuff, the news, found out.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the report.
A local police officer terminated after 19 investigates discovers she's now the focus of a criminal investigation. She had been working as an officer for a local hospital. 19 investigator Mike Mason breaking this story for us tonight.
2 years ago, this woman admitted to having sex with an inmate, and she was then fired. So we wanted to know how she managed to get hired as an officer again at university hospitals here. First, we want to warn you, though, that this report contains some explicit content.
All right, you don't have to show it.
In June of 2022, April Woodside was hired by the Summit County Sheriff's Office to work as a deputy at the jail. Just 4 months into the job, records show she began sending these risque photos of her.
4 months. She ain't wait to try
Those
to get
photos
this.
is not that bad.
Oh, it's probably naked pictures.
They said these risque photos ain't nothing risky. They just regular pictures.
Herself to a male inmate. 19 investigates obtained the audio from when Internal Affairs questioned Woodside about her sexual relationship with that inmate, which happens to be a third-degree felony in Ohio.
We had intercourse.
You had intercourse?
Yes.
Where did that take place?
In the cell.
Did he have a bunkmate at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Damn, he got a piece too.
Sleeping.
So
Sure he
she
was.
full of shit, right?
Sure
So
he was.
they banging. Now it's a woman inside the cell. It's a woman inside the cell. They banging, and he just gonna sleep, huh? Yeah, he gonna say, "Well, when you done, I'm gonna get my."
Yeah, I'm telling her I'm next.
Yeah.
Motherfucking jailbirds, man, they can smell a female a mile away. You mean to tell me he's sitting here asleep while you banging next to him? Yeah,
right.
Records show Woodside was fired immediately. This past February, she was hired as a police officer at University Hospital's Ahuja Medical Center in Beechwood. Last month, 19 investigates questioned UH about why they hired Woodside.
And it's the one with the glasses.
After she
it's
was
the one with the
terminated.
glasses? I thought it was the other one.
No, it's the one with the glasses.
She don't even look like the same chick that we just saw in the pictures.
By the sheriff's office. 1 week later, UH sent us an email stating, based on the investigation into the circumstances of her hiring, the decision was made to terminate Officer Woodside's employment with UH. We then asked UH whether they had contacted Summit County or requested Woodside's personnel file prior to hiring her. They haven't answered those specific questions, but the sheriff's office tells us that UH police did not contact them prior to or after Woodside's employment. We did reach out to Woodside, but she said she had no comment. The Summit County Sheriff's Office confirms that after 2 years, they are still conducting a criminal investigation into Woodside's actions. Mike Mason, 19 News.
Now, as you heard he say about the criminal investigation, because they think that she was also giving the guy drugs. So she denied it. Well, it comes out that the inmate that she banged is telling that she was giving him drugs. So here's the second report on this. So she was banging him and giving him drugs.
New developments now in the case involving a former Summit County deputy fired for having sex with an inmate.
So the records also show that she was also suspected of smuggling drugs into the jail. Now a former lieutenant has filed a complaint with the Department of Justice, hoping that they will investigate.
That's right. 19 investigator Mike Mason has been working on this, has our story.
In October of 2022, Jordan Schwertner was serving time at the Summit County Jail on drug charges. Records show he and then Summit County Deputy April Woodside began a sexual relationship while she worked at the jail. She later admitted this to investigators.
We had intercourse.
You had intercourse?
Yes.
Where did that take place?
In the cell.
The jail shift commander at the time says deputies also suspected Woodside was smuggling drugs into the jail.
I had a deputy come to me from day shift and state that he believes that she's selling drugs to inmates or giving drugs to inmates on the pod.
Charles worked for the Summit County Sheriff's Office for nearly 25 years. He recently resigned as lieutenant. Since he still works in law enforcement, he asked us to identify him only by his first name.
Charles, we can see your face. You might as well say your name. They did a horrible job trying to mask who this guy is.
Records show when deputies questioned Woodside, she denied giving drugs to Schwertner.
Did you bring cocaine?
No, I did not. I did not.
However, Schwertner claims she did.
Yeah, she was bringing me a whole bunch of
Schwertner's now in a state prison. We spoke with him by phone. What kind of drugs did she bring you?
I had meth, coke, heroin, fentanyl.
A few days before Woodside was fired for having sex with Schwertner, he says deputies raided his cell. 19 investigates obtained records showing they found suspected narcotics. The report also listed Woodside as the sole suspect, but we don't know if those items were tested to confirm whether they were drugs.
This woman is probably connected in some kind of way. From her getting, first of all, she should be arrested. She should be in jail, number one. Second of all, she got a job working in the police force. It was a hospital police force, but she was still a police officer.
They do that all the time. Cops get fired and move to another city or state right over next door and shit, and get hired again as a cop after they've been fucked some shit up. So she might not be connected. They might just fucking be giving her a slap on the wrist too. Fucking young white girl.
No, neither Woodside nor Schwertner have been charged in connection with that case.
They found contraband, cigarettes, lighters, and possible drugs in the cell.
What was done about that?
To my knowledge, nothing.
In Ohio, it's a felony for an officer to have sex with or provide drugs to an inmate.
So she should be in jail based on the sex.
In October of 2022, the investigator wrote, although the investigation is not closed, it was not being pursued criminally at this time. And this report states Woodside's criminal case was closed 2 months later. However, SCSO now tells 19 Investigates this case is still open. According to reports, it's clear SCSO suspected someone smuggled drugs into the jail. Now Charles is concerned whether this case will be properly investigated.
I can't think of anybody in the jail that escaped charges for having drugs and contraband inside the jail.
SCSO's policy.
My man trying to stay incognito, so they turn the light down. You can still clearly see his whole face.
Yeah.
Substances will be submitted to BCI for testing. So we asked the sheriff.
But then he don't want his last name, but he give us his first name.
Sheriff's office if they sent the items to BCI, but they haven't responded. We then requested the results from BCI, but they told us we found no laboratory submissions and no BCI investigation related to April Woodside.
I've never seen where somebody has covered up something so blatant.
Is it a cover-up?
I believe so, yes.
DOJ is still reviewing this complaint that Charles filed online. We did reach out to Woodside and Sheriff Candy Fothery for comment, but we haven't heard back. Mike Mason, 19 News.
Yeah, she needs to be in jail. Just based on the sex. The hell with the drugs. So we going to Montanville, Florida, where Tyresa Els Martin is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated child abuse and the death of Jamara Sessions, her boyfriend, 9-year-old daughter, who was mauled by a Rottweiler. Now, we always talk about how mama had these men around and the men fuck up the kids and all that stuff. Now, here's a man having a woman around and she done fucked up the kid. Here's the report.
All right, a Fox 35 News exclusive. 9-year-old Jamaria Sessions was found dead back in June in Montverde. Fox 35 News first brought you the story then as deputies were trying to figure out how she died. And tonight, they say they have some tragic answers.
Deputies say this woman beat the little girl and instructed her dog to attack her. Fox 35's Marie Edinger joins us live now. So Marie, this woman was the girlfriend of the young girl's dad?
That's exactly right. Deputies are calling this the worst case of abuse they have ever seen in Lake County. Jamaria Sessions had two grandmothers who she'd stayed with in the past, and we spoke exclusively with both of them today.
That's a baby. That's a baby. A beautiful little girl not gone.
Of a 9-year-old baby? 9.
9-year-old Jamaria Sessions was found dead in June. Now we know she was tortured and brutally beaten, allegedly by her father's girlfriend, Tashelle Martin.
This is the worst case.
This ain't the first time, grandmothers, that woman hit that young girl. What I want to say is, one of the grandmothers, where was your son at? Well, all this time. This ain't the first time that she beat that girl.
Of aggravated child abuse we've ever seen.
Martin's arrest affidavit says while her other kids watched, she sicked her 103-pound Rottweiler on Jamaria, then kicked and beat her.
There was no reason to hurt my granddaughter.
The home was full of security cameras, which deputies say caught the attacks on video. In one video, Martin is heard saying, "I'm fixing to kill her," according to the affidavit.
The world needs to know evil when they see it. So her picture needs to be everywhere. If I had the money, I would invest in a billboard.
So that's his mom.
State.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, where was the concern at before this shit happened?
Right.
She already had some animosity and anger towards this little girl, so she probably was hitting on her.
Mm-hmm.
So
the sheriff's office says that was far from the first instance of abuse. Martin is accused of beating her as a form of punishment.
But like we said, it wasn't the first time.
And making her run with her hands above her head.
Don't have the words to describe it. It's unimaginable and completely inhumane.
So where was Jamaria's father? The sheriff's office says he left the home because he and Martin were fighting. His daughters have lived with each of their
No, where was she at before? Not this situation when the dog attacked her. Where was she at before when she's beating this child? Because I'm pretty sure the mom is not happy, wasn't happy about that girl being beaten that way. She should have got involved too.
And mothers in the past. Both told me today they want custody of the children. And now they want maximum punishment for the woman accused of killing their granddaughter.
You gotta explain to her sister what happened to her sister.
So both grandmoms is like, the hell with her.
Right.
She not gonna understand that.
That's probably her mom right here.
Yes, because she looked like they look alike in that picture that we just seen.
the justice that she deserves is not what the state does.
No one else has been charged in this
case. Let us cut her mic because we don't know where she's going with this.
County Sheriff's Office says the investigation is active and ongoing. Martin is being held on no bond. Live in Lake County, Marie Edinger.
Camera up on her.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
Yeah. All right, we got a street entrepreneur here. Street entrepreneur, get your money. Everybody else just hating, do what it do. They jealous of you. They player hating on you. If you get in trouble, ain't nothing but a player hater. So we going to Savannah, Georgia. Tiffany Welch-Nealy, a Savannah police officer, a Savannah police employee. She's not an officer. I'm sorry. Logs nearly 3,900 overtime hours. She didn't work. She beat the hell out of that clock. Here we go.
And now to a WJCL 22 News investigation. A Savannah police employee logging nearly 3,900 overtime hours over 4 years. But it's time prosecutors say she never worked. Chief Lenny Gunther declined our request for an interview, but in a statement called the incident, quote, an egregious theft of taxpayer money. WJCL 22 News' Andy Cole was the first to break this story. He spent hours digging through documents and has since learned how she pulled it off.
Because everybody did it.
192 hours of overtime in a single 2-week pay period. That's what Savannah Police's Southside.
She was kidding. So you mean nobody noticed that? Nobody noticed that. In 2 weeks, she did all that overtime?
Should I get 5 hours overtime and I got to answer some questions?
Yep.
Precinct Administrative Assistant Tiffany Welch-Nealy logged the week of September 10, 2023. Over those 14 days, she claimed to have worked 11 of them straight without a single break. But this isn't an isolated incident. Through the Open Records Act, we requested all of Welch-Nealy's pay stubs from her time working for the city. In January 2020, after a year of working for Savannah Police, Tiffany Welch-Nealy started logging large amounts of overtime. We found 23 pay periods where she logged more than 70 hours of overtime. By the time it was all said and done, prosecutors say she stole $150,000 in taxpayer money.
To me, that is physically impossible for someone to be working that many hours. The question I have is, why wasn't that caught? That's the big question I have. Why wasn't that caught?
We asked the city of Savannah that exact question. In a statement, the city says Welch-Nealy adjusted the numbers after her supervisor signed off.
Bullshit. So she went behind the supervisor and logged her own hours, but then somebody still had to sign off on it,
Payroll
right?
still got to see this shit.
Right.
As an administrative assistant, it was Welch-Nealy's job to submit time for the entire precinct. The city admits, quote, safeguards in place to prevent this theft failed.
Unfortunately, when we don't have updated systems and we have old way of doing things, this is the sort of issue that we run into.
When you have someone who does not do the right thing, then you identify them, you investigate, and then you prosecute.
The city did just that. In late June, Welch-Nealy was indicted on 3 counts of theft by taking and 3 counts of theft by deception. She spent a night in jail in early July, but remains out on bond awaiting trial.
These are pretty egregious. This isn't skimming a little bit off of the top. These are pretty egregious, discrepancies that.
Part of your old team.
Mm-hmm. I knew you had something to say. I looked at you, how you had that look on your face, like I knew you was going to say something.
Was paying any kind of attention they should have caught, right?
The city says since discovering Welch-Nealy's theft, they've created more robust checks and balances and now conduct monthly payroll audits. They also say once the case is adjudicated, the city will be able to file an insurance claim for the theft of tax.
She worked more overtime. Like you said, most of us only do like a couple of hours or something like that. She worked more overtime hours than her regular hours.
Yeah, exactly. I should pull that shit off.
So you mean to tell me
nobody averaged about 95 hours overtime every week? That's crazy.
And nobody else noticed this? I don't believe it. I think they all did it. They all beat the clock.
Up, all juicing, and then they got tired of her shit, or she went a little extra harder than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Taxpayer dollars.
And every time a public employee does that, there's an opportunity for someone to say, see, I told you, they're all crooks. And it makes it bad on all of us. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. But again, I believe we identified it. And so we have addressed it, and I think addressed it appropriately.
We asked to talk with Police Chief Lenny Gunther on camera, but he declined our request. In a statement, Gunther says the safeguards failed, but, quote, it is our responsibility to prevent misuse of taxpayer funds in our payroll process, and we're taking action to make the process more secure. We also reached out to Welch-Nealy for this story. She, too, declined our request for an interview. For WJCL 22 Investigates, I'm Andy Cole.
Yeah, they wasn't nothing but hating on that lady. And then she in jail, she didn't seem upset. She's like, oh, well.
You know what's up. Damn, they got me.
Yeah.
I hope she put a little bit of that bread away for fucking when she finished her time.
No, she didn't. She didn't.
But they're gonna clean her bank and they're gonna take her possessions. But if you got a little stash in the fucking backyard, you might be all right.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. You can reach the Judgementals on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube at PNL Judgementals. Instagram at the_judgmentals, or you can email us at pnljudgementals@gmail.com. All right, then.
You can check the status on my level, not my Facebook. Comments on my photos, that's why I stay on the low. Most of y'all is associates, so I be on my dolo. Hold up, woke that, whoa, hold the phone. You think all I do is rap? I can do it on my own.